Hi guys, welcome to Mystery Diagnosis.
Within minutes of giving birth, Deanna notices something strange about her son.
I looked at him, but he didn't look like he was looking at me. He looked like he was looking up.
The doctor really didn't seem alarmed at all by it. It was just something he was going to outgrow.
Weak
They
muscles?
would say that it takes time for some children to gain control over their eyes.
Feeling reassured, the Withrows take their son home, and for the next several weeks, all goes according to plan. But just a few days before Landon turns a month old,
Thank you for
everything
subscribing.
changes.
He woke up and he was vomiting and throwing up everywhere.
I
I'd
must be
never
dizzy
seen a
from looking
baby
up.
throw up this much. I was holding him, and he would arch his back
Poor
and
thing.
clench his fists and curl his toes under. This episode went on most of the night. Hours of him coming in and out of screams and clenching and stiffening, and me trying to come up with ways to console him. And it felt like it lasted forever. The doctor looked him over, did the exam. The doctor said that it was reflux and that it was very normal.
But the very next day, Landon has another fit, and then another.
For people
And
that are new
After this, it
with
didn't
Mystery
stop.
Diagnosis,
There were
the diagnosis
more
towards the end is
episodes,
correct. There's a
and
lot of fake
they were
diagnoses
more
in this.
frequent. And it got to the point where they were happening at least once or a couple of times a day. And that's just the really bad, the stiffening and the arching and the throwing up and the eyes way up. Every day I would think, okay, this is as bad as it gets. The next day would top it. He screamed like he was on fire.
I am a nurse myself, and this was something I'd never seen before. I had no idea what was happening with Landon. I was actually very scared.
I did anything and everything that I could think of. I gave him gas drops. I tried to feed him. I rocked him in every position that I could think of. Nothing. When he was going through this, I'd just tell him that I was just gonna go through it with him.
Good mother.
Because
proud
if
of her.
if I couldn't stop it, I would just tell him, I'm here with you and we'll just get through it together.
But as the weeks drag on, Landon's fits only seem to be intensifying.
His episodes continued to get worse, and he would be in it a little bit longer than he was when he was younger.
Just totally out of the blue, he looked me straight in the eye and smiled. He looked like a normal child. I almost couldn't even believe that it was happening, but it only lasted for about 30, maybe 60 seconds.
It's a
I
good
was
sign.
really astounded. I thought, well,
It shows
maybe
he has control of the
he's
muscles.
getting better and going to outgrow this.
I knew that he had the potential to be a normal child. Hope came back into the picture.
Over
I'm
the next
glad.
several days, Deanna and Jonathan watch Landon closely, praying he'll lower his eyes again.
It didn't happen again for a good few days, and then
At least he's doing
he did
it.
it again. And it was just as incredible as the first time, and reassuring that, yes, he can do this. And then after that, again, a few days, a short window. Those little windows were like little miracles.
But despite Landon's improved eye contact, his screaming fits continue to escalate.
It was really scary because to me it seemed like he was having some kind of seizure.
We had been trying to find a pediatrician that would listen to us and would do something. I needed a doctor to see what we had been seeing. And when the pediatrician saw him, she was immediately alarmed. Landon started throwing up, and there we went. Full-blown episode. His eyes were so far up, there was no sign of his personality anymore. It wasn't Landon. Landon was trapped in his own body. The doctor took one look at Landon with his little fists all balled up and his toes curled under and his jaw clenched together, and said that we needed to be admitted to the hospital. And And his answer was actually, I don't know.
So Landon was discharged from the hospital.
Over the next 3 months, the Withrows do their best to manage Landon's frequent episodes. But they can't help but notice that their son is also failing to hit nearly every one of his developmental milestones.
I was nursing that also.
The older he got, you could just tell he was getting further and further behind.
He couldn't play with toys like typical children could. He couldn't roll over. He didn't crawl. It just took so long for him to do anything. There was always this little voice in the back of your mind that says, what if he doesn't walk? What if he doesn't run? What if he can never hold a pencil? It was hard to have faith all the time. I was worried if he could go to school like a typical child at all. I worried that he might never get to live his full potential because of his physical limitations.
It's paroxysmal tonic upgaze.
My diagnosis for Landon was a rare condition called paroxysmal tonic upgaze.
Paroxysmal tonic upgaze, or PTU, is an extremely rare neuro-ophthalmological disorder in which the eyes focus upwards involuntarily. In a healthy individual, chloride ions transmit vital information from one part of the brain to another, including the signals that regulate vertical eye movement. But in patients like Landon, doctors speculate the brain loses its ability to control these ions, and the eyes remain fixed in an upward stare. Unfortunately, there is currently no cure or treatment for PTU.
The symptoms with PTU do tend to improve with age.
Today, Landon's almost 3, and his eyes are already improving.
That's great.
He's able to control his gaze for even longer periods of time,
Wonderful.
and consequently has made a number of developmental strides.
Again,
Every
great.
day, Landon does something new, and we can see him coming out of it, and we can see it going away. And it's awesome. It's phenomenal.
We are all really thrilled with where he is right now.
Unfortunately, Landon's PTU continues to give rise to both physical and mental delays.
Landon doesn't speak yet. He makes babbling sounds, but there really isn't speech.
Well, at least he's making
so he's quite
improvements.
delayed at age 3.
He's been army crawling for probably 6 or 8 months at least now, if not longer. As far as walking, he's still not able to do that.
To help him get around better, Landon has recently learned how to use a wheelchair.
He did really well with
That's
it.
great.
It's his little go-kart, and it's nice because mentally, emotionally, Landon is a very typical toddler, and toddlers like to move. I hope that one day Landon has no physical limitation. I know that he is a very smart little kid.
Thank you for watching. This was a fun one to make, and I'll see you next time.